Hello?
All right, there you go.
There you
I
go.
think I'm going to forget why I called you. Okay, so I was thinking about the way that we see things, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this or what you think about it, but I don't think that we see things in front of us because light is carrying those things to our eyes. So I don't believe that light reflects off of the object and then carries that reflected image to my eye.
Right.
Okay, so I don't believe that, right? But but how do we account then for pinhole cameras? Because pinhole cameras become a projector for the field of view that's in front of them. So if you get a piece of cardboard or whatever, you drill a hole in it, and then you get close enough to a surface like a reflecting surface like a wall, it'll be like a picture show. It'll be like a silent movie. You don't have any lens except for that hole. It's an aperture, right? It's a very tiny hole, right?
Yeah.
So how is the image getting onto the wall if it's not being carried through the air like I said that it wasn't? That's the only thing that makes me think that we see because the thing is being brought to our eye through the particle, the light waves that are in the air that are carrying this image frequency or whatever.
Is the image already on the wall? We're just using the pinhole to focus it? Something like that? Using the pinhole to focus the light.
Now here's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that there's a combination of what we think light does. That is, it travels from one location to the next. So I don't think that's what light does. However, I do think that the air, which acts as a lens, carries the image across the surface through billions and 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 billions of fucking. Have you ever, when you were a child, put your face right up against the television screen when it was on, and you saw all of these billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of pixels? But when you backed up, oh look, there's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But then when I get really close, all I see are blue and red dots. So that's what the air does. There are billions and billions of pixels of lenses that are in the air that are going, and it's just like this. It's like handing information off. Now you, and every single one of them just keeps projecting the image in every direction because it's a sphere. Right? Like no one's ever explained light behavior or like the way we see things, but to me that makes sense. Okay, so here it goes. So when you have that tiny aperture, then you have within that tiny aperture an intensity of the focus. And then within that aperture space, that's where you get your lens projection. And then you just got to get the closest surface, right? Because if you get too close, you'll blur it out. And if you get too far away, it won't be able to retain the image. So you have to have it just in the right spot, because that's the way a projector works. The projector throws the image, right? And then it goes through the air again, and it's just the same process over again. And you just got to get so like when you're fucking man, I'm blowing. I don't know if this is making any sense, but
no, it is.
It's blowing my mind.
So that makes more sense than anything else, but Is that why they tell us that, they always tell us the lie, right? So light travels in a vacuum, speed of light. But maybe light doesn't travel in a vacuum because it needs air or some sort of medium to, like,
right.
project that. You know, and that's why there is no space.
Right.
There's no there. The sun or any light we have here is within our space, whatever. You know, that's interesting too. So what about? I'm looking at my back door and I can see my front door. From my back door, there's a reflection.
Right.
It's a glass. Oh, that's interesting
right.
too. But that would be like a lens.
Right.
It's flat. It's just a lens of some sort. Because I can see.
Well, think about it though. But think about it. If you had a concave surface, like this, where the door is, you're looking at a pane of glass that's vertical and for the most part flat.
Mhm.
Okay. So then that's why you've got that reflection that way. But then if you were able to make that pane of glass convex and like come towards you in the shape of a sphere, then that image would disappear eventually. It would get washed out.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
or if you inverted the pane of glass so that it's a concave lens, then it would narrow and bend the image more tightly.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, that whole I don't think these guys ever got past. I don't think these guys ever got past just thinking through how to explain things because they couldn't. Like I was out shooting today, and I said in the live stream, like, I've never seen in any of the papers that I've read, I've never seen them talk about things that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that only I've seen. What I mean, like, because they do show us images of ships inverted, and they do tell us about those things. I get that part, but I'm saying, like, I've read what you talk about. When you talk about mirages, I've read what you talk about, but you don't talk about what I talk about. Mm-hmm. So, am I either seeing something that's not there because you're the experts after all, or am I going to teach you something that you didn't know because you stopped looking? Or you never looked in the first place, right? Like, how many of these guys have gotten out on the field and have spent hours and hours and hours, like I have, like, watching this? Like, you know, like, I said it a couple of times, but I said it today on my channel too, and I don't mean it disrespectfully, but, like, I'm the only one doing this work right now. I mean, Wide Awake does what he does, but he's not doing anything right now. He hasn't put anything out in a long time. And in my opinion, besides great footage, I never heard him say anything interesting. He talked about reality, but he never went farther than that. And I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. But then you have Sky Free Channel, and they get out there with their tiny motorized boats, and they show us in small scale. Like, that's when I found them for the first time, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because they were doing, you know, great work. But that stuff's not in the books, man. Like, nobody's talking about the stuff that we're talking about, and I can't get anywhere, and I'm only one who I am, but whatever.
Well, I've been thinking about, like, clouds, because here in Texas, or so, like, one cloud will move in and just drop a shitload of rain in, like, a square mile, right? So if you were to take all that water and weigh it, how heavy was that cloud?
Yeah, but see, right, now, I don't think...
Along those lines...
Go ahead.
Along those lines. Now, some clouds just moved in when you called. So why is it still light over here? Like, the whole sky is covered in gray clouds. I can see them. there's some lighter spots than others, but why is there still light? You know, if you're talking about what
Well,
I
it's not dark. It's not like
projection.
Are you asking why is it not dark like it does when it gets stormy? Like when it almost
No.
feels like nighttime?
Like the light is coming through the clouds, or we'll say this: I can see the cloud. I don't know if the light's coming through it, but like you said, maybe the air or the cloud itself is just repeating that image to me. Hey, cloud being a different medium than the air, I guess. I don't know if that made me sense, but
well, I mean, the only thing that I can think of is what I made a video about clouds because I was trying to present an argument against the observation that clouds being lit from below is proof that the Earth is curved because the Earth has to be turning so that the sun can get underneath the clouds, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in my video that I made, it was a perfect day for it because it had clouds of various densities. Some clouds were perfect puffy white balls of puffy white, and other clouds right in the middle, there was a dark shadow. So my argument was that the shadow demonstrates that that part of the cloud is too dense for the light to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, right? So, if those clouds were able to stay in that position all day long, but the sun kept moving, you would just simply see the position of the density of the cloud follow the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it would change its position the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So, when the sun would get far enough away, then that compounds the density of the clouds, and therefore they are dark on top, but the bottoms are so light or so less dense that the light gets through that sliver at the bottom. So it's not being lit from the bottom. The light's just passing through that part of the cloud because it's less dense.
Mm-hmm. I follow you. I look at like the sunset a lot out here with clouds, and sometimes like, man, they're all pink on the bottom and gray up top, but you have no idea what's going on with the cloud. It just looks like that, you know.
Yeah, and you can say what you want.
Yeah.
Like think about that. Like if we go back and look up a textbook about what they describe about this same topic, like 300 years ago in the 1700s or whatever, are they just looking up there and saying, oh, this is what's happening because of this or because of this? But it's like, you can't get up there. You don't know what's going on up there. But that's the same thing that I feel like they were doing with the mirages. They were just looking at these things from a distance and scratching their heads and describing things, and they just, because they didn't get out there on the field every 10 feet, take measurements to make sure this was that and that was this.
At one good point you bring up too is distances. I don't know if that bottom part of the cloud is closer to me or further than the other one. So just because it looks like that, and then I write a book that says this is what it is, you know, that seems like what they've done too. So even with mirages, like they don't know how far away, like you said, you're looking out, not at a surface. You're looking out over it. You know, but to our eyes, it looks like I'm looking at a painting. You know, I could say, hey, yeah, that's a backdrop right there. But that would be discounting the distance to that and everything through that. You know what I mean? Kind of like
I'm just thinking, man, like I don't know. You know, there's so much, like, what the fuck is going to happen with the future and what we know right now? Like, too many people know too much about science that this isn't going to be catastrophic sometime in the future. I don't understand how this cannot be a huge avalanche just waiting to come down at some point.
I think it probably is, right? We don't see social media. They'll just make up some show, freaking, what was it? Oh, the Big Bang Theory or something, and just draw people away, or ridicule other things, information that comes out with stupid shit. Bread and circuses, was that what they call it or something,
Yeah, bread and circus. Yeah, but check this out, man. Look, I had a PhD on my channel 3 times. And we talked, more than that through email and whatever, right? This guy is a PhD. He knows all about peer review. He knows all about the process. He knows all about the whole thing that we've been told, oh, why don't you go out and win a Nobel Prize? Science is always looking for people who, discover something. No, and that's just absolutely not true. Why? Because my PhD friend didn't offer me any advice as to how I could progress, nor did he take it upon himself to come to me and say, Travis, this is earth-shattering. And if you and I go in together on this, we will both get Nobel Prize. If that was true, that these guys are just waiting to be the next Nobel Prize winner, this would have been the time for him to do that. And he didn't do it.
I think I'm outside now having a cigarette and just thinking how to test something like that. You're talking about the air being a relay of sorts, right? A relay of information very quickly. I like, as fast as the speed of light. And but dude, we look at that all day long on our LCD screens. It's not that difficult to think that's what the air does. So how do we test it? So you'd have to isolate gases, right?
No, you're asking the wrong question. Hold on. No, you're asking the wrong question. The TV is based on what the air does. They already know that's what the air does because they built something based on nature.
Yeah.
So the real question that you should be asking is, how did they find this out?
So let's say you get real close to TV and you can see separation. You can see your red, green, blues. Well, if you send very small electricity through different gases, you get different colors.
All right.
Mix all them gases together, called air, add some energy, light, there's your projection, right? Your relay through the air.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But I can't walk up to this tree and get so close that it turns to red, blue, green. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, but at the same time, it does wash out. And I've done that on my channel before. Last October, when I had one of the clearest, most amazing days that I'd ever seen, and I went back and I did live streaming all weekend long. I think I did like 10 hours. And I did that. I zoomed in on the image and just kept zooming and zooming and zooming and zooming and zooming. I was like, fuck, man, this is like going into universes upon universes upon universes, And it's fractal, which is what we all understand and know, that the world is a fractal of itself. And those fractals get, represented.
To what we think we can understand and make a picture, whatever our brain does, right? What about the prism though? Send some light through a prism and it separates into colors.
Well, but see, the thing is that I've never seen, the only time, Pink Floyd album, right? Dark Side of the Moon, which has that pyramidal prism, and then the one beam of light that goes in, right? That's not what we see when we see a prism sitting on our desk. We don't see one light beam come in and then a rainbow spectrum. Okay? Yeah. We see billions of them thrown out onto the surface, however far away that surface is. But we don't just see one thing, right? We see billions of them because of the different refractions that are going through all of those, you know, whatever's in the glass or the crystal.
Yeah, that would be a refraction, exactly. That's true too. And then, but if you set that statement up to Rumpus, he'd say, no, there's one beam of light coming from the sun. You can't see it because there are many, right? And it's hitting your little prism and creating that perfect little
separation. If you want to say that, okay, but if he wants to say that, I'll be like, okay, if you want that, that's fine, I'll give that to you. But what I'm saying is that there's not just one beam of light hitting the prism, there are billions. And that's why you have billions of images.
You see, Travis, but then on your desk you'd see so many different colors. Well, that's what we do see. Actually, they're all just mixed together into an image called a table or a tree or a car, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. What about your CD?
I don't know, man.
Hang your CD from your rearview mirror, right? And it shoot all them colors in the car. Some of them just hanging in the air, right? Just kind of look like they're in front of the CD. That's interesting too.
Yeah, it's almost like a ray coming straight at, you know, coming like over your head, like a crepuscular ray coming over your head. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But that's what we're talking about is air. Now there's been some sort of change hitting the light hitting the CD, whatever it did, and we're able to pick out certain colors just in the air, right? That's it. So when I close my eyes, it's black, kinda, yeah. So is black no light? Is that what we'd say? Black color?
Black is supposed to be the absence of color, and white is supposed to be the presence of all color. And I think that that's backwards. I think that that's a lie. I think that they are flip-flopping everything because common sense will tell you that what makes something black is mashing everything together, even though it's not strictly black. Yeah, it'll be like a really deep, you know, purple, brown, whatever. But it's never going to be white. Yeah. What the fuck is that? I remember thinking that as a kid, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
You're telling me that all of the colors make white. I'm like, that is bullshit. Like, as a kid, I didn't think that, but I was thinking, that's bullshit.
Me too. That makes sense. And that's the way, when we were talking about why this avalanche of information and observations, why hasn't it blown up? Well, because they teach us kids just such absurdities, if you think about it, that it'd be so hard to accept something normal, right? Like, no, you're backwards, Travis. No, all colors is not white. That's backwards. You know? And then you just have this big argument, and then people get mad. And
like how does that even make any sense? Just say that. Like, how does that even? You explain it to me. Here, I'm your kid. I'm 5 years old. You explain that to me. Tell me how that works. I won't be able to do it.
Well, you see,
that's like trying to explain how Santa Claus can get into your house when you don't have a chimney.
Well,
you got to make some.
Open this book and show you right here. Okay, what it says.
No. I don't want. No. I said I want you to tell me.
Well,
you can't explain it.
You're not a scientist. You have to listen to the scientist.
I know, man. I think. I don't know if this is now a memory or a dream, but I have in my memory, apparently, a conversation with one of my Uber riders. I don't think I was recording it because I haven't been recording in the past couple of weeks, but I remember one of my conversations, the person was saying
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist. I don't know enough. I don't know enough. And I was coming back at him like, look, man, I said, I want to tell you that, yes, you are. You are able to think through this. This is supposed to make sense. It is so simple. It's not supposed to be complicated. But his science was so complicated that it's so much like, oh, you understand it? Oh, the emperor isn't really naked right now? I'm actually seeing clothing that's so fine that it's like invisible. Oh, but he's not naked, right? And he doesn't lean to the left, right? So then these guys who are all in agreement are saying that the emperor has clothes, and I'm like, no, he doesn't. I can't, like, what the, like, either I'm insane or these guys, but there's more of them, and they're all in agreement. So I'm just going to go along. Okay. Oh, then Your Majesty, those. And so then you
think about this right now.
How do you do what?
Oh, there's a radio tower, probably a mile away from me, and there's a strobe on it, a strobe light, a blinking light, and they'll say that light is flashing once a second. They'll say that light is traveling to my eye. Well, after, just chatting with you, it makes more sense that light is just being relayed to my eye very quickly, right? That light's it's not leaving that strobe. I can see the strobe blinking, but it's not traveling to me. Right. If it was, it'd almost be like I'd see more like that CD reflection.
Hey! Think about this, dude. Oh my God, think about this, right? So, this is wild. I don't know how to verbalize this. I was just thinking about what you were saying. You were describing that, like, so then if something goes across your field of view, shouldn't there be like this warped, like this weird aura around you, like you're going through a medium, and it's like this really, really thin? I think it's actually there. I think we just don't have acuity in our eyes to see that. That would be like telescopic. That would be like zooming in on the horizon. Right? It's there, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
But you can sometimes, in actuality, when you look on the top of your car and you get down low enough and that lamppost in the distance disappears or gets all wavy right at the surface. That's where you see that distortion. So that's what is happening. That is what's happening in all of these objects in front of us. It's just that the medium is so fine that we can't see it unless you get to the right angle, which is always the case. Right. It's always about angles and distance.
Exactly, angles and distance. Kinda.
But I mean, I'd love for this to go out and because I've never heard anybody say what I just said about light, about how the air is the medium. I know that we talked about it. I know that Austin could talk about what Ken Wheeler says and instantaneous perturbation bullshit, whatever. I know that we've talked about it, but I've never heard anyone say it the way I said it, because the way I said it makes a lot of sense to me.
Austin has talked about, light is already there. Remember when he was talking about that a while back?
Right.
Already there.
Right.
It just needs excitation. Something to excite it.
Yeah. Which is the brrr. It's that brrr.
Yeah.
That's how fucking fast, dude. Isn't that amazing? We're talking about the speed of light, but we're not talking about the speed of light. We're talking about the speed of projection or the speed of relay. Dude, this is incredible. This is really interesting, actually.
Think about this. You could very easily connect. I wouldn't say correlate, but that to sound. Right? The sound is being relayed through the air.
Well, but see, that's what was throwing me off, dude. That's what was throwing me off the other day, because I was thinking, man, sound and light are awfully the same. So if sound is traveling to my ear, then I don't know. I don't have a good argument against light not doing that. I don't. Right? Because it makes no sense to me why one wouldn't be like the other. But what you just said is they are both the same. It's just that the way I've described it, sound does the same thing.
I'll bet a lot of other shit does that same thing. We just haven't thought about that yet. You know?
Well, but don't we to a certain extent, like,
you know?
I was thinking about, I don't know how to talk about this other than to say, like, if you have a 9-volt battery and then you hook it up to 2 copper wire leads or whatever, and then you run it out, let's say, a mile, and then you hook it up to a light bulb a mile away, the power isn't going to reach it. But that's not the way so the sound is different. Well, it's not, I don't know. Because light has a limitation to it. It doesn't travel forever, so that's like the extent of the medium, right? So then if you have the copper wire that's running out 10 feet in front of the 9-volt, well, 10 feet in front of the 9-volt, it can power the light. But once you get to like 1,000, 1,250 feet, nope, not enough juice. That's just like what the sun does. It doesn't. There's a limitation to it, so it has to be in proximity to a certain extent for the relay to happen,
and have a medium to support its juice,
which is always there. The medium's always there. And it probably continues to reverberate late at night, even like you can still see at night sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like. It's like looking at the sun and then closing your eyes, and that image of the sun is in your eyeball. Right? So then why wouldn't that be the same like at night? You know, the light is still, the air is still charged with the ionization of the sun, and then it just eventually flickers out, and that's why it goes dark. That's pretty cool.
It is, and I'm going to add on to that. So no astronaut can remember seeing starlight, right? Stars, if they're lying to us, or whatever. And so, and there are no pictures from the ISS with stars. Oh, it's exposure or whatever, you know.
Right.
You just can't. Yep. Oh, no. How about the stars are, as it's been stated, within the firmament, within the medium, and that's why we see them here. But if you get out of that, the light has nothing to relay off of, you know.
Okay, so look, man. Right, so look, you're out in Texas, and you can see 100 times more stars than I could. Like, yeah, you know, your sky is going to be littered with stars, right? So if your naked eye can see those stars, so can the camera.
Yeah.
Unless the camera's aperture is set to a really intense exposure, right? So it has to let light in. But my point is that you can get the camera to the right exposure level. Don't you think that they would have understood that when they went out to space and said, all you guys have to fucking do is get your camera set because there's not any light. So whatever, like you wouldn't even have to do it. Like, okay, if I'm near Baltimore and the city is washing out the sky, I could lower my exposure and see stars that I couldn't before. Okay, but they're there, right? Now, I couldn't do that with my eye. My eye can't change the exposure that way, so it's not the same. There's a certain,
not that much exactly, but it does do it.
There's there's a certain correlation between what I'm saying with the way that we see and the way cameras see. But what I'm saying is that the fucking explanation of why they didn't see any stars is bullshit. That's like someone, like, what the fuck? Like, you knew that Val Kilmer was going to be there and you didn't take your camera? Are you insane?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Like, no one would have done that. You would have, like, you knew you were going to see a unicorn and you didn't take the camera lens off, but you saw the unicorn. So you want me to believe that you went to space, but you didn't take a camera that was capable of taking pictures of the stars? You
That's
really
why
want me
you
to believe that?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the reason you went up there, was to experience this space, and you didn't even take a picture of it. Or remember seeing any of it, right? So makes me think you didn't go to space. I don't know where you're going, but you know.
Well, I mean,
And
you know,
even if I can see stars down here, and you're just outside of Baltimore, you can see some stars with your naked eye. Well, if they're up in space, there is no other light that's washing out stars. They should just, the whole sky should be white, full of stars.
The whole sky should be just white then, yeah.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, sure. Yeah. Yeah, because, aren't there supposed to be, okay, so like if I'm looking up at Orion, so I can see Orion's belt, and there's 3 stars in the belt. But in between those 3 stars are billions of galaxies that are so far away I can't see them. Right?
Yeah, in between you and those stars and beyond his belt. How come you don't see shit that's behind his belt? Right? There's nothing brighter back there. It's just, nope, that's it. There's your...
Well, that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. That those galaxies and whatever are so far away that their light isn't reaching me. Otherwise, the entire sky would be white.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So light doesn't travel forever.
Exactly. This is really getting close to why is the sky blue? Right? Why that 5-year-old question?
I think the sky is blue. I think the sky is blue, possibly because that's the lowest possible noble gas, so that when the light gets to that part of the air, of the ether, that's the color that it's shining through.
Yeah, and you actually can see that in Dwayne Cohen's high altitude balloon stuff.
Yeah.
You showed something similar to that. If we don't know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's interesting though. But it's interesting though because there are certain parts of the day, like it's okay. Early in the morning, the sun or the sky can be pink and red. And then in the evening, it can often be yellow and orange and red or whatever. But I don't know about. Yeah, I guess pink. Yeah, I guess pink too. Yeah, I guess so. Well, whatever. Right. So, at what degree in the sky does that stop? Because that's where the blue sky starts, per se. And then once the sun gets high enough, then the entire sky, except for that bit above the horizon, like that couple of degrees above the horizon, where it's either due to pollution of man on the world, or it's just the
humidity.
Yeah. But did you watch Gary Wybenga's channel?
He just posted something the other day, didn't he? Was that him or somebody else?
Yeah, I think it was this morning or something. I think I watched it today, and I made a comment on the video. But it was interesting because it kind of helped me think through what's like the
stars in space, right?
No, he was talking about the video that Gary just did was talking about your field of view and your dome, your atmospheric dome, your personal dome that you see the sky on. So at whatever place that happens above me and around me, like that's the projection screen that the images of the sky come through and hit me.
Yeah. Yep.
And so then that's why, you know, even if you're standing next to me, you're going to have a different angle of view to those targets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the video I watched, I might not have been Gary, but they did doing a recap on Townley's Bridge about super zoom and how, you know, that's
yeah,
why
I watched that one too. Yeah.
It, but no, that's all interesting. I'm gonna go inside and think about it.
Yeah, it's blowing my mind, man. It's like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, there's so much to research.
Mm-hmm.
The channel Tomb of Illumination, the Lindsay Harris guy from New Zealand, he says this line from the Egyptian Book of the Dead: there are many suns in many places, but only one sun seen in one place.
Well,
you know, and he's like, this is from the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yeah. Like, so they were thinking
what were they
about
smoking?
Yeah, right. But it makes total sense because I have my sun right here, but it's not the same sun you're seeing. You know what I mean? It's you described what you're saying. I described we described two different things, really. You know, even though we a simple mind would say yes, it is the same light that we're seeing. We're just in different places. Well, yes, but maybe there's many suns in many different places for my field of view, my dome, and yours, and that guy's, and that lady's. Yeah, because
yeah, it's pretty. Yeah,
it's interesting too because that sun that I'm seeing right now, it made the temperature something made the temperature go up to about 97. But you're seeing that same sun, very similar angle, not that much different.
All right.
It got 97 on you today.
Yeah. Right. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then they'll try to say
shit about
the air temperature. Well, but if okay. But then here we are, back to the air thing. You know, relaying everything with light, but sound and temperature and whatever.
Yeah, if the sun, I posted on some guy's Facebook post about the sun or whatever, and he's like, you don't think we get heat from the sun? I'm like, nope. And he's like, how can you not think that? And I said, because it was 90 degrees yesterday, and today it's 70. And the sun is in the same place.
Yes. Exactly.
So then now you're talking about temperature, and you're talking about this, that. I'm like, yeah, you're just talking about the flat Earth, you idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't get a special science because you think you live on a ball, and then that makes all of the science just yours.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way the world works. Welcome to flat Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, but we don't have to say the yeah buts. No flat earther has to ever say yeah but. You never have to explain something with a convoluted, you know.
Exactly. I hear you. Hey, I'm gonna jump off with the family. It was a good talk, Trav.
All right, man. Appreciate it. All right, bye.